Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. And my name is Clara, and today we're going to talk about timing. Timing is very important in the life of a believer. Many of us we dream for this appointed time. The time has finally arrived for you to, get that promotion, for you to get that job, for you to have those children, for you to get married. The time has arrived for you to move outside the country. The time has finally arrived for you to start that business. The appointed time of the Lord that we've all been waiting for, we've all dreamt for this particular moment. And when this moment finally comes, all of a sudden you feel unready, insecure, you feel fear, you feel doubtful, you feel all these emotions, unworthy and unprivileged, all of these emotions, insecure, everything, you start to feel it. And because of that fear, it now makes you to retreat, and all of a sudden you don't want that thing that you have been praying so hard for, because now you feel, am I ready to enter into these blessings? Am I really ready? Can I do it? And then because now you're pushed with that, you kind of retreat and you begin to go back. You begin to lose hope. You begin to be discouraged, and now you no longer want that thing that you've been wanting and praying for. And when you are not careful, when this season comes and you're not careful to act on it, then this season will go away and you will find yourself in delay. You find yourself now, you are no longer, when you find, if now you feel ready, you are no longer ready. The season has gone by until another appointed time, which God knows when will come back again. And so all of this has a context, because all of this came from, the story of the Israelites. They've always wanted, to come out of slavery, and God had promised them God had promised them He would take them into the promised land, the land flowing with milk and honey, and everything seemed so good, and they were ready. They went and they came out of Egypt and into the wilderness, and they stayed there, went, camped in Mount Sinai, stayed there, and then after that they finally begin the journey. And here's the amazing part. From Mount Sinai to where they were, which is Kadesh Barnea, that place is 11 days, right? So they stayed in Mount Sinai for like almost 9 months to a year, right? Approximately, according to the scholars. They stayed there for a long time, but as soon as God told them it is time, leave. 11 days later, they are at the outside the border of the promised land, which we find that in Deuteronomy chapter 1, and of course Numbers chapter 13 and 14. And so you find they are camped there, and they're at the border. We have the Amalekites, we have the Amorites, we have the Canaanites, all of them. So the Canaanites are at the top here, and so they finally are on, and they are like on the southern border of the Canaanites, and so they are over there. They see it, they feel it, they know it. Moses tells them it is time to enter into those blessings. Go ahead and possess. Then this fear just comes on them. Unbelief just comes all on them. Insecurity, they feel that they're not ready, they feel unqualified, they feel unworthy, unprivileged, they feel like doubtful. And so they decide to manipulate Moses in this particular stage, and they go ahead and tell Moses, they say, I think we should just go ahead and send out some men, so that, these men will be able to go and spy out the land. Mind you, this is Deuteronomy, right? That they approach Moses, and they are the leaders. I'm talking about the heads of tribes. They approach Moses, says, hey, let us send men to just go and survey the land. Let's, to go and we need to assess like their military base. We need to assess like their popularity, like their strength, their population. We need to see the potential agriculture that is in there. Mind you, God had already told them, listen, If those people, fine, they're bigger than you guys, but listen, you guys are going to trample on over them, right? And about agriculture, God had already told them this land is filled with milk and honey. So it's good land. It is absolutely good. And so they literally, in that moment, they never trusted God's word. But because of the fear, the doubt, like, are we even able? Do we have enough weapons? Our military base, like, our armies, are they like strong enough to be able to fight? All of these fears, torment, anxiety, it's just tormented them. Their minds, they're thinking out, they're stressed out. They're on the border. Moses told them, it's time for you to go in. And so, because of all of that, mind you, these heads of tribes are speaking on behalf of the people. The people unanimously came together and be like, you know what, like, maybe we should just go ahead and send some people to go and spy out. This was not a God idea from the beginning. That's why when we see in Numbers of chapter 13, we see how God never came up with that idea. God specifically just gave directions because he permitted it. He permitted it, and he saw the hearts of these people. He saw their hearts. But God still permitted it. And Moses, on the other hand, when they approached him, in verse 23, we see how Moses, the plan, it seemed good. It was practical wisdom. And I can, you can just see from like Moses how he was feeling. I think maybe him thinking in his like human mind that, when we send out these spies, they're going to like give like a good report, and they're going to be able to tell the people finally what God had told me. Maybe they're going to give like, say, oh, you know what, the land is actually really full, it's really great, and everything, like, what the Lord told us, it's absolutely true. And Moses thought that when he actually allowed and sent those spies, they're actually going to give a good report, and the good report will be able to encourage the Israelites to finally, or pump them up so they can finally go in and possess. And so, because in his human mind, that's what he's thinking, right? What could go wrong? And so Moses goes and prays about it, and after praying about it, he, the Lord now talks to him in verse where in Numbers of chapter 13, the Lord talks to him and says, hey, okay, fine, I want you, Moses, to pick out specifically leaders, rulers. Basically, that word rulers in Hebrew is nisa. And when you pick out these rulers, these are not just normal men. These are, first of all, they are men of influence. They are high-ranking men. They are noblemen, right? They are princes. They are chiefs. They are people who are influential, if we can talk about that. And Moses goes ahead and picks out, these men, and they go ahead. And when they go, of course, they survey the land, and they see it's good, but then they also see like there we have giants. They also see like there we have fortified cities. They see there we have like the military system is strong, and we're nothing. And they sent 12 rulers or leaders. 10 of those leaders are supposed to be influential men. 10 of them, they come back, and here's the thing, they come back and they meet the people. They show them grapes. They took grapes. They took figs. They showed them pomegranates. All of them they showed, hi guys, like this land truly is filled with milk and honey. It's awesome. But let me tell you again, like this land, I'm telling you, we cannot conquer them. They are too big for us. They are too mighty. Their cities are fortified all the way up to heaven, and they gave a horrible report. Caleb says, no guys, no, you guys, we can conquer them. Let's just go in, let's go and possess because we're able. Mind you, Caleb is a ruler from the tribe of Judah, right? And that shows something, Jesus comes from the tribe of Judah. And so Caleb has a different spirit within him, and he says, no, guys, we can conquer them. Oh, let's just go in. Like, who are they? Fine, they're bigger than us, they're mightier than us, their military system is great, their cities are fortified, but who are they? We have God in our side. Let's go in, let's conquer. But then these 10, because they're more influential and they're many in number, they come and they go ahead and they start to continuously give a negative report. No, we can't. We're like grasshoppers. There we have giants, the Anakim, the descendants of Anakim are in there. And so this particular report, mind you, the Israelites right now, before all of this, they were already working on thin thread, right? A thin thread. They were already very, very cautious. They were already very doubtful. And so now they reached a point they've received a bad report. Now it just confirms everything. It confirms their fears. It confirms their doubts. It confirms their unbelief. And they reach a point where they go back in their tents. We go back to Deuteronomy, and Moses is narrating this. They go back to their tents, and after going back to their tents, now they start to complain amongst themselves. They complain in their tents with their wives, with their children, with their neighbors, with their friends. They start complaining that night. And they begin to say, does God hate us so much that he brought us out of Egypt just to be able to kill us and to put us in the hands of the Amorites? Does he hate us that much? And they were discouraged. Mind you, in Deuteronomy verse 21, the Lord and Moses told the Israelites, he told them specifically, guys, do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. Don't be dismayed. You guys, you have the ability, because the Lord has set before you these nations. He has set before you. So do not be afraid. The land is already within. Like the land, you are able to conquer. God is with you. But because they did not believe Moses' words, they think, it's just like one of those situations where your parent talks to you and say, God, like, you got this. Like, you can go ahead and you can do anything. And you're like, yeah, I know you're saying that because you love me, but, literally that's what they were thinking. But they did not know that God was speaking through Moses. And God had already showed them all the miracles that he did. This is nothing compared to what God had already showed them. Parting the Red Sea, going with them with, cloud by night, pillar of cloud by night, pillar of cloud by day, pillar of fire by night, conquering Egypt. All of this was nothing, right? Everything that he had showed them, what God was going to do with the Canaanites, the Amorites, the Amalekites, the Jebusites, the Hittites, the Hivites, all of these people was nothing because of what God had already, the battles that God had already fought. But they had so much unbelief inside them, that because of that unbelief and the bad report, the Bible now talks, as we go back to Numbers, how they couldn't sleep at night. Literally, they could not sleep because of the bad report. They started complaining in their hearts, saying, does God hate us? And then they complained with their family, and then they complained with their neighbors, then they complained with the people, their friends, the colleagues, and everyone around them. And they begin to weep. They weep so badly, and to a point that they feel like, no, God lied to us. And with that, they put themselves in a situation where the next morning that they arrived, their minds were already made up. Their minds were already made up, saying, we are not going to conquer. We're not going to possess that land. The opportunity set itself literally the opportunity is right there for them to go ahead and to conquer, but they said, no, we're not going to go. No, we're not going to go and conquer. In fact, we're going back. We're going back to Egypt. We're going back there. So we see how they go ahead and we see that slave mentality that the Israelites had. They came out of slavery, but they brought slave mentality with them. They literally brought them, like, carried them in their backs. And we see how that slave mentality is the one that makes you feel unworthy, is the one that makes you feel unready. It makes you feel unprivileged. It puts fear, it puts doubt, it puts defeat inside your mind. It makes you meditate on these things. This is a slave mentality. It's not a prince mentality. It's not a kingship mentality. No, it's not the mentality where like, God is with me, I am an overcomer. You don't have that. You have the slave mentality that you're thinking you're always a loser. You're always gonna fail. Nothing is ever gonna work out. And when Moses picked out those 12, only 2 had this different spirit. When the Lord talks to Moses later, he tells them, is there anyone like Caleb? Caleb has a different spirit. He doesn't go with the flow. He has this courageous spirit, this strength, this strong spirit. There's something about Caleb that I actually really love, right? He and Joshua were 2 people amongst the other 10 leaders who went to go and spy. And the other 10, you would think, because they are influential men, they are men of high ranking, they are noblemen, they are chiefs, and they are princes. You would think that they have a different mentality. You think that they have a different spirit, but they're just like the rest. They're supposed to come back and give a good report to the Israelites in order to pump them up, to inspire them to go and conquer. But they gave them a horrible report so that they could be discouraged. And we have to be able to be very, very mindful in this particular stage of our lives. And when that time finally comes, you should be very careful what you're listening to, who you're listening to, because that can either put you in this place of being discouraged or being fearful. When you're supposed to take that step, now you feel you are retreating, you feel discouraged, you feel hopeless, that you cannot do these things. And so it is very, very important. It is extremely important, because once you miss out on that opportunity, it may be hard for you to get it back again. Once you miss out on the opportunity of getting married, maybe you found a particular person that you wanted to marry and you think this person is a good potential, but because of X, Y, Z and reasons known to you, you miss out. You say, you know what? No, I'm not gonna go there. Maybe for example, you see like their financial status is very discouraging to you, and so because you see, okay, maybe this person, they don't have as much money as I thought, so just that discourages you, and then now you begin to retreat. You go back, you be like, no, refuse, because the Bible specifically says that the Israelites refused. That is in Deuteronomy. They refused to go in and possess. Same apply to us. We refuse to go in and marry that person because their financial status is not exactly good. Other people, you refuse to go in and apply for that job because you feel like maybe you are not qualified. They want for XY, they want for this number of years of experience, and you do not have that. Or they want someone who has achieved a particular doctorate or whatever, and you may not have that, but still God is pushing you to go and apply, but you don't want to. When God is saying, okay, now go, it's time for you to travel, but you retreat. You feel like maybe I might just get rejected, might not have my visa or something, or you did get rejected the previous time and you didn't get your visa, so now God is pushing you to go and apply again. You're like, you know what? No, because I will just get rejected like last time. And you miss out on that opportunity. And so it is extremely important. It is extremely important because timing is important. The reason why the Israelites stayed there for 38 years later because they missed out on that opportunity. And the Bible specifically says that they rebelled against the commandment of the Lord. They rebelled. That is verse 26 of Deuteronomy chapter 1. Verse 26, they rebelled against the commandment of the Lord. How did they rebel? Because they failed to go. It is a rebellion by omission. It is an act of rebellion by omission. The rebellion comes from them not acting, going, doing what they were supposed to do. That is where the rebellion came in. And many of us, that's how we reach a point where we actually truly do rebel, because we rebel by omission. When the Lord tells us to do something, we don't do it, and that is rebellion. This is sin of omission, right? There are people who do rebellion by commission. They act, they do something, idolatry, stealing, lying, all these things, right? They do something that is they're not supposed to do, right? But this rebellion by omission is doing something that the Lord, not acting the way the Lord tells you to act. And that is something that is very dangerous. Don't think just because you're not worthy, you cannot do it. Do it afraid. Do it afraid. Even if you feel like you don't have the energy to do it, do it afraid. Even if you feel like, I don't know how it's gonna work out, I don't know how things will go about, do it. Even if you don't see the blueprint, you don't see the full picture, as long as you have God in your side, that is all that matters. That is all that matters, that God is with you, that He will never forsake you, that whatever you tread your foot upon, there you shall possess. You shall possess that land. You shall possess that marriage. You shall possess that job. You shall possess that business. You shall possess whatever you set your eyes on, whatever you set your heart on, because God is with you. And that is all that matters. But many of us, we don't go in to conquer because we don't believe that God is truly with us, that we are doing it alone. And that God will not fight for us. God will not go before us. He will not make those crooked paths straight. He will not do anything. And that is where you and I fail. Are you okay? Was I talking too loud?
Can you reach for the light?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Pause it, yeah. Pause it.